What if the door that you've been hoping and praying for to open that would lead you to a new life, a better life, was always there all along? What if that door has never been locked? And what if you're just afraid to walk through that door because the version of you that still believes that survival is safer than freedom is what's guarding that door from you? And here's the thing, what if the fear that you fear is not proof that you should turn back, but proof that you're standing at the edge of something really new and great and amazing? Hey, I'm Richard and welcome to the Walk-In Transformation Podcast. This is where faith meets real life. Not the social media scripted version that you see every day, but the real life that you're living each and every day. Now, in the last episode, we talked about the story that you were handed down before you even knew how to refuse it, before you even knew that you could refuse it. And we also talked about how that survival story that you built around the original story may have just become a prison for you. So today, we're going one step further. Because once you name the story, you may begin to see something else. You may begin to see something that you did not expect. You may begin to see that there is a door and that you've known that there is a door, but you've just been basically avoiding it. You know, deep down, you may already know exactly which door it is, come to think of it. By the end of this episode, you're going to begin to recognize what has been standing in between you and the door that God has been inviting you to walk through. And you're also going to understand or start understanding why fear is not always the sign to turn back. Sometimes it's just a signal that survival is departing out of the building where the desire to thrive is starting to take control. Listen, if you know that there's a conversation that you need to have, a boundary that you need to set, a truth that you need to admit to yourself, if you know that there's a step that you need to take or a version of yourself you need to stop performing, then you're in the right place. Welcome. You're not here because you're weak, okay? I want you to get that out of your mind. You are here because there's a part of you that is finally ready to stop standing outside of that door. You see, we've been praying and hoping for so long that these doors will be open, but now the door is right there in front of you and it's not locked. It's not locked. Now, before we go any further, there's something that I really need you to know, something that you need to understand. This episode is not just another information session. You are not here just to collect more insight, more language, more knowledge, or more notes that have never become movement. And I'm not here just to be your very best friend today. That's not my role today. I'm here today to be your very best mirror. Because at some point, insight has to become a decision. At some point, awareness has to become movement. We can't just continue to visit the same things and do the same things. We can't. Now, at some point, you have to stop standing at the door and asking for another sign when God has already been saying, look, here's your door. How many more doors do I need to give you? You don't have to stay here anymore. So as you listen today, don't just ask yourself, do I understand this? I want you to ask yourself, what am I going to do with this now? Because here I am again. Everything's come full circle and I have a decision to make. Because insight without action can become another way to stay outside the door or another way to give yourself the excuse not to walk through the door. And this episode is not here to help you decorate the outside of that door. It's here to help you finally recognize why it is that you have been afraid to walk through it. Now, here's what's really interesting. The door itself may not be the problem. The story that you attached to that door so you won't walk through likely is the problem. If the story handed to you said, don't disappoint people, then the door of honesty is going to feel really dangerous to you. If the story said, be strong and don't appear like you need anything, then the door that's asking for help will feel definitely dangerous. Now, if the story that you have said, good women sacrifice, then the door of choosing yourself will feel dangerous. And if the story said a real man does not fall apart, then the story of vulnerability will feel dangerous to you. It'll feel very, very dangerous to you. And here's a big one right here. If the story said you are only valuable when you perform for others, then the door of rest will feel dangerous, and it will actually feel like it's off limits to touch. So maybe the door is not dangerous. Maybe the story that trained you to see the door that way is the real danger. Now, this door may be a hard conversation. It may be a boundary. It may be an apology, a decision, a new beginning, a season of rest, a moment of honesty, maybe a step of faith, maybe a refusal to keep pretending. This door may be a choice to stop being who pain, that's right, pain, trained you to be. Now, the old story says, look, don't go through that door, because if you do, people may not understand. People may be disappointed in you. They may judge you. They may not clap. People may not see or need you the same way. And another thing that's really, really kind of scary is that they may not know what to do with the real you, because they've been so used to the you with a mask on that they just don't know how to take the real you. But I want you to hear me clearly. The door is not always scary because it is wrong. Sometimes it's scary before your old story taught you that freedom would cost you too much. It taught you that freedom would cost you acceptance. And that's why you've stood there just wishing you could walk through that door for so long. Not because you didn't hear God, not because you were lazy, not because you were broken, but because the story you survived inside made you feel like freedom was super unsafe. And maybe, even right now as you're listening, there's a specific door coming to your mind that you know you could have walked through by now. Not 10 doors, not every problem in your life, just one door. Just one conversation, one decision, one boundary, one act of honesty, one step that keeps coming back to your heart, because deep down you already know that it matters and that you could have taken it by now. Now, this is not judgment. This is just observation, because it's important to me that you are able to be accountable for where you have been. What I want you to do is I want you to pay attention to that one step that keeps coming back to you. Pay attention to it, because the door that you keep avoiding may be the very place where your next level of freedom begins. So I want you to ask yourself this. What door have I been avoiding? Complete this sentence. Now, the door that I keep avoiding is blank. And here's some possible answers for you. You know me, I give you, simple micro steps to take. The door that I keep avoiding is having the honest conversation. Or it could be setting the boundary, asking for help, admitting that I'm tired, letting people see the real me. And that was a big one for me right there. Resting without guilt, starting again, forgiving myself, saying no, telling the truth. Here's one, choosing peace without disappearing. And the big one, I think, letting go of who I thought I had to be, who everyone told me that I needed to be, who people said that I should be. Then I want you to ask, what story taught me that this door was dangerous? Now, don't rush past that question. That's a serious, serious question for you, okay? If you can name the story that made the door look dangerous, then you can begin to separate fear from the truth. You really, really can. Once you name the door, the next thing you have to do is to recognize that most of the time, the door is not standing there by itself. It's not just a door that's just there. Something is guarding it. And that guard usually sounds reasonable. It sounds mature. It sounds responsible. It sounds wise. Now stay with me here, because if it seems like I've gotten a little deep, well, I'm not too deep for you. I'm right where you are, because we need to reach past the surface to get in touch with right where you are. But sometimes what you have been calling wisdom is really fear wearing a respectable outfit. It's really fear saying it's a wise idea not to step out of your comfort zone right yet. You could do it another time, but not right now. Fear does not always sound like panic. Sometimes it sounds like planning. Sometimes it sounds like caution, caution, just beware. Sometimes it sounds like now is not the right time. I'm not saying no, but now is not the right time. And you have to be aware like it. Sometimes fear always sounds like you have too much going on. Or sometimes it could be, what if you fail? What if you fail? Or what if you succeed and can't handle it? Or what if they think that you've changed and they stop liking you or accepting you? Or what if this cost you the approval you worked so hard all of these years to earn? Now here's a sobering truth for you. Sometimes fear sounds like, what if becoming free, what if me becoming free means disappointing people who benefit from me staying bound? Now that's a very sobering one right there, because it's true. And yes, sometimes caution is wisdom, definitely. But not every cautious thought is wisdom. Not every cautious thought is wisdom. Some of it is fear trying to sound responsible. And you have to be able to discern what's the difference. That is where you have to slow down and listen closely, because the part of you that survived is not evil. It is protective. It learned how to keep you safe. That part of you learned how to keep you accepted. That part of you that survived, it learned how to help you avoid rejection, criticism, shame, disappointment, conflict, and exposure. So, when you start moving toward the door, survival may speak up and say, don't do that. We've been here before. Don't do that. Don't say that. Don't ask for that. Don't need that. Don't try that. Don't become that visible. They may see that you're not good enough. Don't trust people that hope. Don't move yet. Don't make them uncomfortable. Hey, how about this one? Don't risk being misunderstood. And it always says, don't become someone that they cannot control, because every day it's a battle for control of your mind, and you have to take back the control of your own mind. And if you're not careful, you will call that voice wisdom, but it may not be wisdom. It may be fear protecting the prison, because the prison is the only home it knows, and it's safe. That's why the guard at the door feels so convincing. It knows your history. It knows your pain. It knows what happened the last time, and it knows what people said. It knows what you have lost. Come on, it's not a stranger to who you are. It knows all that stuff. It knows how long you had to fight to survive and put on the mask of I'm okay. Put on the mask of Cool Hand Luke, Cool Hand Lucy. But just because fear knows your history does not mean fear gets to lead your future. I'm going to say that again for you, because you may have caught it, but you really need to just marinate on that for a minute. Chew on it for a few minutes like a good piece of steak. Just because fear knows your history does not mean fear gets to lead your future. Fear has been standing at the door pretending to protect you while quietly protecting the prison, while quietly protecting the story that supports the prison. And that is why this is not just about getting more information. Some of you already have enough information. You have listened to the episodes. You've listened to many episodes. You've read the books. You've saved the posts. You've prayed the prayers. You've written the journal entries down. You've had the late night conversations with yourself, and you already know more than you are currently living. And I say that with love, but I also say it as your mirror. Sometimes the reason you want more information is because the information feels safer than obedience. Information lets you feel like you're doing something without requiring you to move. Did you hear that? But freedom does not come from collecting more insight. Freedom begins when you decide to act on the truth that you have already been given, and that's just being repeated to you. Now, here's another micro exercise for you. I want you to ask yourself, what fear is standing in front of that door? And complete this sentence. The fear of guarding the door says, they will be disappointed in me. I will lose respect. I'll be rejected. I'll fail. Maybe I'll look selfish. Maybe I'll be misunderstood. I'm not ready. It's too late. Hey, I'm not strong enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not handsome enough. I'm not tall enough. Hey, they will know the real me is somebody different than they've been dealing with the whole time. And they don't know what to do with the real me. What about this? If I change, I will lose the people who only knew how to love the old version of me, how to love the me that wore the mask. It's a lot, isn't it? I know. So you need to come on back and listen to this episode again. All right. Don't rush through it. But now, next, I want you to ask yourself, is this wisdom or is this fear trying to keep me in a familiar place? What is it? And then ask one more question. What would I do next if fear did not get to make the final decision anymore? This is where the conversation turns. This is where it turns, because maybe the part of you that is afraid is not trying to destroy your future. Here we go. Now, maybe it's trying to protect the version of you that had to survive. Do you remember that I said the version of you that survived is not evil? It's not bad. It's the version that helped you survive. That version of you deserves compassion. The version of you that survived does not need to be hated. It does not need to be criticized. It does not need to be shamed. It does not need to be attacked. It needs to be thanked. It needs to be loved. It needs to be given permission. Permission to step back and stop leading, because it's actually you that has been holding on to that version of yourself. That version of yourself has not been holding on to you. You've been holding on to it because it protects you. Hey, that's what you created it to do. So it's been doing its job very well. Yeah, it's painful. Maybe it's got some very painful outcomes, but it's been doing its job just like you created it to. You developed a dependency on that version of yourself. When you really didn't trust who you were to get you through, you knew that version of you that survived, that was going to get you through. That version helped you get here. It helped you keep going and helped you to function. It helped you make it through seasons that nobody fully understood or thought you would get through. But hear this. You can honor the version of you that survived without letting that version decide how far you are allowed to go. Now that's the shift. That's the shift. You can basically say, thank you for getting me here. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for helping me make it. Thank you for keeping me moving. But you do not have permission to lead the rest of my life. You're not going to get that permission to lead the rest of my life. Because walking through the door does not mean you are abandoning the old version of yourself. What it means is that you're finally choosing the version of you that is ready to live. Choosing yourself does not mean you're selfish. Admitting that you're tired does not mean you're weak. Setting a boundary does not mean you're cruel. And asking for help does not mean that you failed. Resting does not mean that you lost your value, and walking through the door does not mean you are turning your back on everybody else and just giving up on whatever it is that you built. It means that you're finally refusing to keep turning your back on yourself. I'm gonna go a little deeper. It means you are finally refusing to give everyone else a more important place in your life than you have. And please catch that. And maybe that's the door. Maybe the door is just not a decision. Maybe the door is the moment that you stop asking fear for permission to become free. Maybe the truth is you don't need the fear to disappear before you move. That's something, isn't it? You don't need perfect confidence before you take the step. You don't need everybody to understand you before you obey what God has already been showing you to do. You don't need applause to confirm your freedom. You don't even need permission from the people who benefited from your prison, from you being in that prison. All you need is just one honest step, one faithful step, one courageous step, one step that says, yeah, I may still feel afraid, but fear, that thing does not lead me anymore. I may still be uncomfortable, but I'm not staying here just because this place is familiar and just because you guys are comfortable with me being here. I may still have questions, but I'm done pretending that I don't know where this door is or what it is. The door is not waiting for a braver version of you. It's waiting for the honest version of you. The version that's willing to stand up and say, here I am, and kind of give it the Popeye, philosophy. I am what I am. And honesty may be the very first courage that you may have practiced in a long time. So what's one small step that you can take toward the door today? Complete this sentence. I know, another micro step, but they're micro steps. You can handle these micro steps, and you don't have to do it right now while you're listening to the episode. One small step toward the door is writing the truth down, sending the message, saying no once, asking for help, taking 10 minutes alone for yourself, admitting that I'm tired. That's one serious step. Stopping the performance for one honest moment. Praying honestly instead of politely. And it's okay if your prayers sometimes seem like they're angry, because God would rather have all of you instead of some of you. Did you hear that? God would rather have all of you instead of some of you. Maybe it's scheduling a needed conversation, or naming a boundary, or letting yourself feel what you've been avoiding, or taking one action before you talk yourself out of it. And then ask yourself one more question. What would courage look like if I didn't have to do everything today, but I did have to take just one honest step? What would it look like? Now, here's the coaching point, okay? I'm a coach, so I'm just going to step into the coaching world for a second. Don't make the step so big that you have to use it as an excuse not to move. Make it an honest small step. Make it a step so small that the second you take it, you feel a small victory. One honest step is enough to prove to your nervous system, your spirit, and your old story that fear is no longer the final authority. Okay? Joshua chapter 1 verse 9 says, be strong and courageous. Now that doesn't mean that you're not going to feel fear, okay? Let's get this straight. It means that fear does not get to be the final authority. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is what happens when you stop letting fear make the final decision and move forward in the face of it. And then there's 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7, which says, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Now that matters. That really matters a whole bunch, because fear creates confusion. Fear makes the door look like danger. Fear makes it look much, much, much bigger. But a sound mind helps you recognize the difference between a real warning and an old survival pattern. So today we're not pretending that fear does not exist. We're just putting it back in its proper place. Not in charge, not leading, not deciding. Just present, maybe, but no longer ruling. And if God has not given you the spirit of fear, then you don't have to keep treating fear like it has the right to govern your next steps. I'm Richard, and if you're still with me, I want to thank you for staying with me through this entire episode. That tells me that something in you is listening. Something in you is ready. Sometimes you just have to admit to yourself that something inside of you knows that this is not just another message to hear. This is something that you need to respond to. So I want to give you a quick recap. And if you're watching on YouTube, just put in the comments what stood out to you, and wherever you're listening, share this episode with someone who may be standing in front of a door that they may have been afraid to walk through, but they see the door clearly. So I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. This is just a recap. What door have I been avoiding? What fear has been guarding that door? And what is the one honest step that I could take toward it today? Then say, today we are not forcing the whole door open. We're just telling the truth about why we have been standing outside of it. Because once you can name the door, again, once you can name the fear guarding it, you can begin to realize something powerful. The door may not even be locked. And if the door is not locked, then maybe freedom is a lot closer than what you thought. And before I close, I want to say this with love, but also with complete honesty. Whatever you do, do not let another year go by with you standing in the exact same place, carrying the exact same fear, avoiding the exact same door, and calling it wisdom. You do not have to change everything today. I repeat, you do not have to change everything today, but you do need to take one honest step, because God is not asking you to stay there. He is inviting you to move forward. He is inviting you to step into this magnificent life that He created just for you. Now, you don't have to walk through the door all the way today, but you do have to stop pretending you don't know where the door is. In the next episode, we're going to talk about you don't have to start over. You just have to come home, because once you walk through this door, you may realize something that you did not expect. You are not walking into a stranger's life. You're not starting from nothing, but you are returning to the person God never stopped seeing you as. And you're returning to the person that you did not believe you were, but you have always been. And that is where we're going next. So just remember, always, you have always mattered, you have always been good enough, and you have always been worthy. And it is never too late to transform your life on purpose.